how did you choose where you wanted to start being a business owner and investor?
That's a great question.
You're listening to the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. I'm Tyler Jorgenson, and I'm filling in for Robert Kiyosaki while he's traveling this summer. And today I have the honor and privilege of interviewing Deyl Kearin, who has, of all the people in my network, really personified and taken the principles of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad and the principles from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad and applied them into his life. I'm super excited to talk with Deyl about how he's built his real estate portfolio, the value of different types of education, and just how he's juggling all of it. So welcome out to the show, Deyl.
Thanks, Tyler. Great to be here. Really honored to be here and excited to reconnect, my friend. It's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so let's start right off at the top. Usually I want to go backwards, right? But with you, I want to really touch on just what's going on now, right?
Sure.
So tell the listeners a little bit about your portfolio and what it is you're currently doing.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll go into my background, but I have a portfolio of multifamily investments, multifamily real estate, from Los Angeles up to Sacramento. And then recently we closed on 3 acres in Santa Barbara that we're subdividing, and it'll be kind of a family project with a few families. So kind of a fun mix of my real estate business side and family dreams. And then a couple spec houses that I'm working on in Santa Barbara and a ground up development. So yeah, from the real estate side, that's kind of what's happening right now. I'm teaching entrepreneurship up at Westmont College. I just finished my 4th year, and that's been a blast. And I've chasing around 3 kids, 15, 11, and 6, and married 23 years, and just living the life, man.
Yeah, you definitely keep yourself busy. You didn't include in there your ultra marathons or your super like high endurance events and some of the other things you do, which is just fascinating.
I love the crossover. Actually, I talk a lot about in my entrepreneurship class, the crossover with endurance events and entrepreneurship. There's almost 100% crossover with the mindset required for both.
Oh, for sure. So you were introduced to the concepts of Rich Dad and the Rich Dad book when you were pretty young by your father, right? Go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So my dad owned fitness centers. So growing up, I was always, from probably 8 years old, I was like the desk guy in Rancho Santa Fe and was just always around fitness centers and business. And but he said when I was in college at Westmont College, I was a communication studies major, but he's like, whatever you do, son, just learn how money works. And here's a book on cassette tape called Rich Dad, Poor Dad that just came out. And I'm like, Dad, I don't need another book. I'm reading 1 million books and in college here. And he said, that's why I got it for you on tape. So you might actually listen to it in your Toyota Camry. And so I started listening to it probably freshman year with a good friend of mine. And while we're in the dark room, we'd just sit there and process our pictures and listen to this thing over and over. And we loved the stories and then the concepts we talk about. And they were really new concepts. I'd never heard of. I was never exposed to investors growing up or investing. So we were kind of wrapping our minds around these simple concepts and then chewing on them and processing for a couple of years. And I married my high school sweetheart. We were still in college. And so it was like life started quick and we're like, what should we do? How do we make money? We didn't have that like post-college wandering, season. It was like, let's build something. So that was kind of how I was exposed really to the Rich Dad concepts. And actually when we got married, we asked for a wedding gift for the cash flow board game because we loved it so much with our friend David J. And so we would play that thing 3 or 4 times a week. We'd get like a cheap bottle of wine from Costco and just sit there and play the game over and over. So it really influenced my career trajectory, my wife's, and actually David J's. So it was hugely impactful.
So what's fascinating is I kind of from afar followed this happening, right? And I saw because this is back in the blogger days and Blogspot. Right. And so, you were sharing, David was sharing. And what I think is fascinating is you guys went to the same school you listened to the same books,
Hmm.
but you went into real estate. He
Correct.
started building software,
Yes.
right? How did you choose where you wanted to start being a business owner and investor?
That's a great question. Mostly it was like what I could understand. And real estate's simple. And I love that about real estate. But a little backstory, we started a wedding photography business while we were in college because we were the photographers, and everyone's getting engaged and married. And so we're like, hey, we shoot weddings apparently. And so we it was kind of low hanging fruit. And we were doing that for a little time. And I couldn't get my mind around how to build a business. It was like, I'm always gonna have to show up. Maybe I can raise my prices. And so he was brilliant enough to see how he could, build pipelines instead of carry buckets. In the software world, I couldn't. I just didn't know the first thing about this internet thing or software. But real estate, I could understand. It made sense to me. And so I started really pursuing mentors in college and out of college in the real estate world. I still didn't completely understand what they did or how they did it because it was all new to me. But I knew that I just knew somewhere in my gut, like real estate's the thing. That's what I want to own real estate. And so that was kind of our split. We're still, best friends to this day, but that was, he could see it and I couldn't see it. And so real estate was what I could get my arms around.
I love that. When so you went to college, but then and you had a dad who at least like understood business and money and
Correct.
cared to impart that to you.
Hmm.
But I like that he didn't just call you and lecture you. He was like,
Not at
"Hey,
all.
listen to this other thing," which was cool.
100%.
And so, but after college, you got a job,
I
right? So
did.
how do you balance the academic education,
Mhm.
the professional education, and the need for like financial literacy and financial education?
Yeah, great question. My college experience, it was a liberal arts college, and it taught me how to learn. And I'm so thankful for that. I don't remember many facts and information from my 4 years, but I was shaped, and it taught me how to ask questions. It taught me how to learn, taught me how to be curious and find answers to questions that I had. And so that was like my academic, experience. It was really just being taught how to learn. And then I had someone come speak in one of my classes that was in real estate, and I was like, whatever he does, I want to do that. That sounds amazing. And I took him to coffee, dropped him off a bottle of wine, would run cigars up to the golf course for him. And I'm like, I just want to be around this guy. And so he's like, you can work for me for free. So I started working for him for free. And my mother-in-law was like, you're going to do what? You need to make money for my daughter. And so that was kind of while I was leaving wedding photography. And then his guy left and opened up a spot. So he started paying me very little money. Um, and all my friends were making good money. And I was just like barely paying our low bills. But I saw it as like, this is the most valuable thing that I could possibly be doing. And one of the things that he always said was, spend the first half of your career building your tool chest, and then the second half of your career you can build your treasure chest. So I really had a mentality of like, I just want to learn. I just want to absorb. And so had that on the job experience was tremendous because I got to be around all these really successful investors and real estate guys that were happy to sit down after lunch and look at pro formas with me and tell me about past deals and failures and successes. So I was in this really neat kind of incubator of knowledge, really street knowledge, because these guys weren't, they all had maybe, I don't think anyone had a master's degree even. It was just guys that learned it all on the job. And so I went from that job to another job that was kind of a level up of skill set requirement. So I worked there for 3 years in real estate, building my network, building my Rolodex the whole time, and actually being taught how to underwrite because I came in thinking, oh, every deal is a great deal. And the people I worked for, I'd show him 100 deals and he'd shoot holes in 99 and a half of them. And then the one that he'd say, well, let's look at that a little bit more, might be something we'd pursue. But I was, simultaneously discouraged, but then like was really honing my inquisition and my like how to find a good deal skills. But all the while I was there, I was being paid a little bit more. But it was like every paycheck I'd get, I'm like, this is another month that I'm not being a real estate owner. This isn't, my last name is not their last name. There's a great trajectory of income here, but I'll never be an owner because, they own the real estate. So it was when I was about 27, had a great job with great benefits, et cetera, that I pulled the ripcord. And my wife's an entrepreneur as well. And she's like, go for it. We didn't have kids, or like, our expenses are as low as they'll ever be for the rest of our life. Now's the time to fall flat on our face or make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I want to go into a little bit more of that underwriting concept. So
Sure.
if people are new to real estate investing, I think that that's an important thing to learn
Mm-hmm.
and understand, because I by nature am an optimist and I see the best in everything,
Right.
which is
Same.
really dangerous in
Same.
real
Yep.
estate.
That'll get you in trouble.
Because I can always see the future. Oh, I can see what
Totally.
it looks like when it's remodeled. I can see this. Um, so if you're that way too, how did you really like learn to separate the emotion
Mm-hmm.
from the finance side of your real estate investments?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I think one way that was really honed was, we started right before the big downturn in 08, 09. And my partner, I've had one partner kind of through my real estate career. I have a few more, but one main one. And we were just scrapping. We both had new babies. We're like, we need to buy diapers. We need to do anything. We're like waiting for RTC2 to happen, and it just wasn't. We were registering for tapes. We thought we were going to just back up the dump truck, and everything was frozen. So we started flipping houses. And I'm getting to your question, but we raised 400 grand from a kind of a friend. And we're like, hey, he's like, what are we going to buy? We're like, we'll let you know when we buy it. We don't know yet. We're just going to start bidding at the courthouse steps. And so we were so nervous with that money. If like, it wasn't our own money, it was like we were stewarding that 400 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And we more didn't want to lose it than we wanted to make money. And I don't know if that's a good mindset, but we were so like, we took it like it was grandma's money. And so we would look at the courthouse steps, Fast and Furious, War Room. We would bid on probably 50 to 100 deals a day, and we would look at 1,000 deals a day. We would bid on, like, actually, cashier's checks, hard bid on 50 to 100. So in those couple hours that the options were happening, we were just like crunching numbers, saying no to thousands of deals, and we would get one a month. So if you total up how many deals we would actually underwrite and scrutinize for the one that we would get, that really honed it. Times 100, we probably flipped about 100 houses over a several year period in LA and Stockton area. So we looked at tens of thousands of deals that we really put hard money in. Like, we'd own it by the end of the day if we got it. So I think that process of repetition really honed it. And we had to make quick decisions in minutes, sometimes seconds. So there's so much you can't know. So we would really anchor to, what can we know in a very short amount of time? How well do we know it? Let's weight that. Let's give it, some probability. And then we would own it, take it through our renovation process, and sell it for the price that we were trying to get. And we would get feedback. So we had this incredible feedback loop of bidding, owning, renovating, selling. And we would, every time we did it, we got a little bit better. We got a little 5% better every time we did it, to where after a few years, like, we're pretty dang good. And we started attracting more capital, and brokers loved us because we could make decisions and get them money, within hours. And then they would get the listing on the back end. So coming back to your question, I think that was really how, like, there was optimism in the long-term play, but I think the pessimism, for lack of a better word, or the scrutiny, was really important as we were making those decisions. So we didn't end up with a nightmare situation on our hands, and we didn't. We broke even on one deal, and we never lost money actually on a real estate deal. We had one kind of get hairy with some legal fees, where we ultimately lost money on that partnership. But we never lost money on a house that we were flipping, or an apartment building for that matter. So we probably could have made hundreds of millions over the years, but we were really conservative. We never used debt, so we always felt like, hey, we've got to we've got our downside somewhat covered. We're buying hard assets with cash. Like, we're going to be okay.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking more with Deyl Kearin. And we're going to start getting into some of the nitty gritty, some advice that he has if you're looking to get into real estate and what's happening in the marketplace today.
Sounds good.
Have you heard about the expanding influence of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and its potential to severely impact the US dollar by possibly creating a new world currency? Even JP Morgan said, and I'm paraphrasing, the impact of BRICS would most likely be felt here in the US, where moving away from the dollar would cause our financial assets like our IRAs and 401ks to lose value. We agree with JP Morgan and many others. Now's the time to position yourself for stability, security, and wealth protection. So take it from Robert and me, whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting, we believe that gold should be a part of everyone's portfolio. Seize the opportunity to ensure your financial future with gold and do it with one of the best in the industry, Allegiance Gold. Allegiance Gold has done things right from the beginning, having earned 5 stars with TrustLink and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Allegiance Gold can help protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver, or you can have it delivered securely to your doorstep. Get up to $5,000 in free silver on a qualifying investment when you visit protectwithrobert.com today. Or you can call 844-3-ROBERT. That's 844-3-ROBERT. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Kiyosaki. Thank you for being with us today. As CEO and co-founder of the Rich Dad Company, I can assure you, Robert and I are both dedicated to our Rich Dad mission to elevate the financial well-being of humanity. And you are the humanity. We truly want you to succeed. When you succeed, we all succeed, and our mission grows stronger. With that in mind, I'm excited to extend a personal invitation to you to elevate your financial well-being by attending our exclusive free online wealth building event hosted by Robert. You'll learn what to focus on first to start increasing your cash flow immediately. You can reserve your seat right now by going to richdadonline.com. Just go to richdadonline.com. The event is 100% free and will help you achieve your financial goals.
Welcome back to the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. I am Tyler Jorgenson, filling in today for Robert Kiyosaki. And we've been talking with Deyl Kearin about how he's built his real estate portfolio, how he's really applied the principles of Rich Dad and built pipelines. And so, Deyl, you mentioned in the last side a little bit about the first half of your career is about building your tool chest. The second half about building your treasure chest. I feel like you accelerated that a little bit. You've done really well and built, $100 million portfolio with your team. You guys have some really cool experiences that you've built and been able to participate in times with some of the people that you guys have worked with. I know a few years ago, you also took a little bit of a break from the day to day.
Yeah.
And so, doesn't seem like careers are necessarily linear, right? How did you, where have you found for you the best balance of work, learn, family, personal? How does that kind of work for you?
That's a hard one to answer because it's just always evolving. But I think it comes back to like what really resonated with me about Rich Dad Poor Dad and a lot of the philosophies. I read the whole library, all the ones that came out. Dolph DeRue, it's great. And, so, but what really resonated with me was freedom, and not yachts and Ferraris and watches and second homes. It was like I want when I'm in my 40s and 50s and I have young kids, like I want to be able to choose how I invest my time and how I invest my resources. I don't want someone else to tell me how to do that. And so that was always what was really compelling to me about owning real estate, passive income, and building pipelines. And so it was, about 5 years ago that I decided to step out of the day-to-day. And my partner and I structured kind of watermarked the portfolio. I stepped out of the day-to-day, So I still own half of the portfolio, and then he's gone on to do some other deals. But my wife and I were at a spot where, well, we got our 3 young kids. We've always dreamed about homeschooling and traveling. There's a lot more money to be made. And it was like there we had huge momentum. My partner's a stud. We have a great partnership. There's no reason to pull out other than, all right, this is the moment that I was kind of working towards and dreaming of. And so we homeschooled our kids. We traveled, went to New Zealand, lived there for a while. And it was kind of a season that I gave myself permission to explore some other sides. Worked with Bethany Hamilton, I was CEO of her company for a few years and built some inspirational products. Started teaching at Westmont, which I'm like the opposite of academia. So it was hilarious when I got asked to do that, but it's been a lot of fun and really sewed a lot into my kids' lives and helping them have experiences. All the while kind of building a business here, getting involved over here, mentoring and still now like kind of dabbling back into real estate. So there's no rhyme and reason. There's no like real strict path I'm following. In fact, it feels like I mentioned earlier, my wife's very entrepreneurial. It feels like we're often trotting our own, kind of blazing our own path, which is usually the long way and the hard way for some reason. But it's true to us. It's true to ourselves, and it's true to our journey. And we're another rich dad concept that also our friend Tim Ferriss talks about is not like deferring retirement or deferring the things that you want to do until you hit some arbitrary number, but saying I want to live my life like it's my last day. I want to live and enjoy. And so I could keep on the treadmill, keep making more zeros and more money, but the precious moment that I have with my kids, my wife, I still have my health and my fitness. I want to grab those moments to experience all of life and not just real estate, not just business. And those are one of my many passions. But I've kind of trended towards letting different things come into my life at different times and giving myself permission for that and not being too worried about what I'm leaving on the table. I think it's
smart. Life. You got to, really enjoy the concept of abundance, right? You have the abundance mindset, but also that time is finite, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Experience finite, and that's such an interesting balance, but
100%.
There's always going to be another deal,
right?
But every moment with your kids and your family, right? That's hard to miss.
And those are our values. That's not everyone's. Yeah. But those are, that's what, if I march through life and make decisions with my values at those times, like I'm probably going to have fewer regrets, when I'm old.
Yeah, absolutely. You have built most of your portfolio with a partner.
Correct.
What are some practical tips or pieces of advice that you have for people who are considering either doing something with a partner or doing it on their own? Like, what's the pros and cons there?
Yeah, I've only really had one. I've a second now on some of my recent deals, but so I lucked out, and so I can't speak to like I've had dozens of partners, and I can't give you a lot of war stories, but I'd say we came in incredibly aligned in our values, aligned in even our family values of really wanting to have good marriages and be good dads. And those influenced a lot of the decisions we'd make, whether we insource property management or outsource it, whether we travel a lot or don't travel a lot, whether we're sleeping in hotels or zooming to be back at night. So we were always really aligned in deep core values. We also rounded each other's skill sets out. He did have a lot more financial background than I did. And we were good with people. We had a good energy. I'd say we dated a while before we, got engaged and married. We're like, hey, let's feel this out. Let's try to do a few deals and just see where things go. And so the first couple of house flips, we didn't even formalize Endura Partners it was like our third entity, I think. So we were like, let's keep trying this out. This feels really good. We have no hesitations, but before we, get the business cards and the website and say we're married, let's date for a while. And so in that process, it really felt like we had a lot of outside voices and mentors saying, this feels like a great partnership. So I think just a heavy alignment in our values and what we're trying to build ultimately was probably one of the best. And communication. I think we're good communicators and we're able to talk through things. We always had a principle that we would default to the person with a more conservative viewpoint, no matter what it was. And that was hard at moments. but we kind of made that commitment in the beginning. So when we'd hit those moments where it was like, I really have a bad feeling about this, and the other guy just sees the upside, we would make that default. And that seemed to go both ways because we'd have different concerns about different things. And over the years, I don't know what, we probably avoided a lot of, bad deals. Maybe we avoided some, maybe we missed some good ones, but we have a good friendship and a good partnership to this day. I think probably because of some of those principles.
I like that a lot. You mentioned how on your wedding registry, if you will, you had Cash Flow, the board game.
Yes.
And how you and your wife and your friends would play the game.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the things that you learned from that? Because like you didn't, a lot of people will play a game once or twice, right? But you guys would play it over and over.
Right.
What did you learn from that game that you've applied into your life?
A few things, a lot of things. I'll just try to hit on the few that come to mind. I love in it that it wasn't just like the guys with the most money and the most income win. That it was like, hey, you can be the secretary and actually have a little leg up by managing expenses low. And again, my partner and I, like we that was how we did a lot of it. Like we didn't have an office for years. Even when we finally did have an office, we would shuffle our cars around 75-minute parking because we didn't want to spend the $300 on parking spots. And we were like, let's just keep our expenses as low as we can because it's going to give us the most runway to be, to ultimately be successful in an industry that takes a long time to be successful. So keeping expenses low is one of them. Another one that I love that I've learned in years is like small deals. You can do a lot of small deals and they're a lot of work. But then once you get out of the rat race and you're doing the big deals, they can be way less work and make a lot more money. And that was really reflective as we would flip houses. We'd buy a $200,000 house. We'd make 50 grand. Our partners would take 30. We'd take 20, split it 10, pay capital gain taxes on it. And we'd end up with just enough to like buy groceries. So we might make 20% in 3 months and crush it on an investment, but we were making very little money. And then once debt started becoming available in 2012, 2013, an apartment building started shaking loose out of the mayhem, we would do a $2 million deal or $4 million deal. And it was less work than a $200,000 house flip because we're working with the best paint contractor in Sacramento.
Yeah.
We're working with the best third-party management company that we could find. All these reasons that we're like, this is actually way easier. And then it goes up 20%, over a couple of years. That's real money that we get to participate in. So those are a few of the concepts.
Yeah.
And then my kids have played it. All three of my kids have played it over the years, and they're just like, well, it takes them a while to get the cash flow statement, and then they're like, I get what's going on here, and I love seeing that light bulb come on.
That's really cool. I love that, man. I think the fact that you have taken so many of these teachings and principles of the Rich Dad philosophy and really not just made it part of your business, but part of your family life is just really, really inspiring. When you're stepping back into real estate a little bit, you got a couple of big plays that you're doing, and a couple of them are really big spec houses, right? That's different than what you built your portfolio doing.
Totally.
And 15 years ago, we saw risk. This is a riskier play, right?
Totally.
What is giving you the confidence to play at that level, in that level of risk? What do you think is happening in the market? What are you doing to hedge your bets? You're swinging for some home runs here, and I just want to hear, what your approach is as you're stepping into the box.
Sure. Great question. And yeah, you nailed it. Like these are different than what I've done in some ways. And I think in real estate, one of the things you hear a lot from the old guys is like, you make all your money in the buy. And so these are projects that we have an incredibly low basis in, that actually been kind of pushing along for years in very supply constrained markets. Here in Santa Barbara, there's a really in demand market where the billionaires are moving and prices are just going bananas and the supply is just non-existent. So there's a few deals that we've picked up in kind of moments of crisis in the last few years with COVID and some other ones where we're able to be in an incredibly low basis. And so and we're not using debt as well. that my partner on those is funding all the renovations, and so there's still plenty of downside. The world could fall apart, probably will fall apart at some point. We don't know when, and we know we still have something that's incredibly in demand, and we'll probably be able to get out of at par. Upside is substantially there, just again because of our low basis. So those are pretty unique projects, and in real estate, it is so hard to find good deals. So that's like, it's hard to find the capital. It's can be hard to execute, but finding those deals where you feel like your downside is really fairly protected is in my experience the hardest thing, and requires an all-in effort and a lot of smart people and a big network to find those deals.
Yeah. I think your entire approach of keeping costs down and making sure you have a long runway seems to be really a common thread throughout all of your investments and everything you built in your career. If somebody is younger or maybe older, but they're just getting started into real estate today, what advice do you give people as they're like taking their first few steps?
Surround yourself with incredible mentors, and find, look for deals, but look for mentors more than anything, and people that have survived, like you, Tyler, that have survived a downturn or two and a market hiccup or two, that have taken some licks and had some rough moments. Those mentors are invaluable, and they're just an absolute piece of my success. Like I could not point to any bit of my success without pointing to half a dozen incredible people that really poured into me. So that'd probably be the biggest one. And I'm very fortunate to have some of those around me here in Santa Barbara. The other thing I'd say is, I think it requires, I wouldn't say always, but I think it requires an all-in effort, an early mentor that when I was like, hey, I think I'm going to dabble in wedding photography on the weekend and do some real estate. And he's like, that makes sense. I get it. He's like, but a double-minded man is like a wind, or is like a wave blown and tossed by the wind. And he's like, if you're all in, you're all in. And he said, choose. And I really respect him for doing that. At the time, I was like, he can't own my Saturdays, but it was more like, energetically, are you all in? And if you are, then it's not 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. You're all in. And I'm glad he prompted me to do that, because I feel like I went all in. And because I did, and then even when I left my job, I was like, I didn't have a safety net, didn't have a parachute. We had a few bucks in the bank. But when you go all in and you burn the ships, all of a sudden opportunities pop up, or the right people pop up, and because you're just scrapping that much harder. So I would probably advise someone that if they just want to do a couple of real estate deals on the side, great, find a good broker. If they want to create a career in this and create wealth and have this be a trajectory in their life, I think it takes everything.
It makes a lot of sense. Deyl, if people want to either connect with you or learn more about your company, where can they go?
But mostly probably just on social media, or hit up awesome. Tyler, and he can give you a cell phone. I'm easy to get a hold of, and I love grabbing coffee with anyone. So
awesome. Really appreciate it, Deyl. And for everyone that's been listening, watching, and enjoying the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money, I am Tyler Jorgenson. I am the founder of For Sale Digital Marketing and Burn Media, where we produce shows like this. So if you are looking to create your own podcast, show, platform, and become an authority in your space, check out burnmedia.co.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.